Love and marriage is a very beautiful thing. This couple obviously really love each other. How sweet, how wonderful. God wants two different people, single people, to come together and till death do us part, until they die, they should love one another. They should be united. Problem is people are hard and stubborn, and one person really messes up or the other person really messes up, and it screws up the whole thing. But this is really important that you get this message. I could talk about this a lot, and it's very sticky, and sometimes it seems very complicated, and there's different opinions about this. But the fact is, see, these couples are all Christians. Can you see these guys back here? They all love each other. We have older couples here, these three right here, been married for years. And then we have younger couples who are married, and they really are committed to Jesus Christ. See, Jesus Christ wants to be up here from heaven, a Lord over each one of them. And actually, these couples do it right. Do they have mistakes? Do they argue here at times? Here and there at times? Yes, it's challenging. Marriage is very challenging, but the benefits and rewards of it surpass and go way past the mistakes and the sorries. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. Mistakes that happen. And boy, I tell you, when you get married, you find out how selfish you really are. So that Jesus is over these girls, and I mean, not girls, these women and these men, and they're doing it right. And there's no way they're going to divorce. They chose when they made their vows that no, in sickness and in health, in riches or poverty, whatever happens to us, if someone just goes to the hospital and has to stay in the hospital forever, for the rest of their life, they're not going to give them up and say, honey, I didn't count on this, bye, and they divorce. Jesus should be Lord. He should be the king over your marriage. He should be king over these marriages, and they are. He is over all these wonderful, wonderful couples. Difficulties, yes, but definitely love each other, and they have wonderful joys to be together and everything. It really makes a wonderful thing. God hates divorce, by the way. It says it in Malachi chapter 2. But now let's say you're a child here and you go, my parents divorced. Okay, we're going to talk about that. The big thing I want to say here is if you're a member of his kingdom under his rule, then you need to do it his way. It doesn't matter the opinions of other people, even churches. There's different opinions on churches. And I'm going to give you my opinion. I'm not 100%, but I'm 99.9999%. I'm pretty sure on what I'm going to share with you. But this is a picture I want you to get. Jesus is Lord. It takes like a triangle here. God is up at the top of the triangle. Then you have a man or a woman, and they love each other here. But the main thing is their focus is on him. And if you put Jesus first in your lives, and then this person does his part, and this person does her part, and they follow Jesus, then you come together. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful triangle. God should be a part of your marriage. And without Jesus, especially nowadays, it's going to be, it's even more challenging. But you need to be like this, really love with each other and stick together like glue. Jesus said, what God put together, let no man put apart, asunder, divide. So they should not go like this and part ways. The only way they can remarry, by the way, is when someone dies. And there's this where some people don't agree with this. I'm going to put all these guys away. You guys are terrific. They love each other. By the way, they're all best friends, these families. Here's our Hispanic families back here. And boy, do they love each other. So there's a verse, by the way. We're going to get to Matthew 19. But I do want to mention a verse before I forget. In Luke 16, verse 18. Listen to what it says. Jesus said this. Let me find it real quick. Oops, it turned. Luke 16, 18, here we go. Let me find it. Anyone who divorces his wife, let's say they split up, and marries another, and the wife that was divorced may have not wanted to be divorced, or maybe she did or not, but whoever married, let's say he divorces his wife and marries another, he's screwed up and he's loving another person, which is not right. Once you get in love with one person, you stay facing each other. Remember that couple in the beginning, they stay facing each other. Once you get divorced, so one person's a victim. He did it. He blew it by going off with another woman or something. Well, is she allowed to remarry? No. And this is where it's like, oh no, there's so many people doing it nowadays. I think God will forgive people, for their sins. But you need to do it Jesus' way. He needs to be ruler. Remember the crown. He needs to be king over you. And so I'm trying to set it up for you children and teenagers so that you do it right. I'll explain that later on how you don't have to have all these divorces and all. And it seems like even the church, half of the church is divorcing, they say. You know, statistics are terrible. 50%, everyone's divorcing, not good. God doesn't want one divorce. Now, there is a time divorce, but not necessarily remarriage. And I'll explain the only exception that you can do when you remarry. But people are so interested in trying to get their needs met, and they're trying to fulfill themselves instead of following Jesus, what he said, and also self-denial. I mean, single people they live with self-denial. They deny themselves. They're following Jesus. Sure, they might really want another person to marry and all, but they live singly, and so they can't do it. Jesus did it, Paul did it, and many others. It says, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery, because adultery, well, I'll explain that later. This is a man who marries a divorced woman. What about the victim, the innocent victim, the woman? Shouldn't she get allowed to be remarried? Not according to this verse right here. Look it up. Luke 16:18. So, see, there's a tendency to think, well, if they've broken off the relationship because a guy goes off or a woman goes off with the other another partner, then it's okay to remarry. Not according to Jesus. It says whoever divorces his wife and marries another. See, they already married, or even if they did marry, they're together with another person. And then he says, whoever commits adultery, then whoever marries the divorced woman, the innocent victim, she didn't do anything. It wasn't her fault. But you're supposed to still stay, single. And that's, people say, what? That's not fair. I know it's fair because Jesus knows what he's doing. God in his mind sees it. Okay, these two are together and that's it. You don't go out with another person. The only time you do go out with another person and remarried again is one dies. One dies. They're dead. Then that person is free to remarry. That's what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 at the very end. All right, let me define some terms for any little ones, younger ones who really don't have a clue what I'm talking about. I think most of you probably knew. This is what Jesus did. What happened is the Pharisees came to Jesus and they asked him, is it right to marry? This is Matthew 19, back in the subject of Matthew 19. They asked, is it lawful to divorce anyone for any cause, for any reason? Let's talk about these words. Divorce, here are the words we're going to go over briefly. Marriage, divorce, fornication, adultery, and remarriage. These are the big words here. Marriage, I think everyone kind of knows what that means. Here comes a bride, dress all. Yeah, it's where two get together. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby in a baby carriage. That little rhyme song. Marriage is where two unite. Now, you can what's called elope. You don't have to have a big wedding dress and all that. My brother did, by the way, one of our brothers. He came home one day and he said, we're married. They just went out and did it together. Saved a lot of money in a big wedding and all. They chose to do that. But marriage is where you unite together. It's legal. You don't want to live together or without being married and all that. No, you need to be married, and God sees as important. And then divorce is where you split that marriage. Now, you can separate and not be divorced, but a divorce is where you go to legal proceedings and you file a divorce. You do it legally, and then you divorce. Super sad. There are times of divorce. God never did want that from the beginning. Jesus said that in this passage. And I'll probably read the passage to you, but if you read it, it says, God did not, his answer to the Pharisees was, have you never read, like you haven't read the Bible, that when God put man and woman together, Adam and Eve, that you're supposed to, he said in the Bible, cleave to your wife. You know, you leave your mother and father and cleave. That means glued together, hang on to each other, stick together. Excuse me. So divorce is splitting up, and that is not God's will. Jesus said emphatically what God has put together, and he ordained marriage. It's his idea, not remarriage. He said marriage is what I want. And then it says don't let anyone split it. And then fornication is where these are two single people. Every time the word fornication is porneia, and then there's a divorce that starts with an M. Marriage, it means or adultery, I'm sorry. Adultery is when you've got, let me get these couples again, I'll get a couple of them. Fornication has to do with two, see if I can get a couple here. I'll do this older couple here. Fornication has to do with two single people. And they unite with another person, they have relations with another person, they spend the night with another person, and they're not married. Not good, okay? So single people is what fornication is. Every time in the New Testament it's used. And even outside literature in the Greek, it's always, always, always a single person. Even in 1 Corinthians 5, there's a passage there. And that person, the father must have died. And also in that passage, you want to later look it up for your older ones. But anyway, you have a couple here. Let's say they're single. Of course, they've been married for years, haven't you? Yep. All right, they're single. So fornication is where, let's say this person or her, let's say they're not married, they hook up like this and act like they're married. Not good. You know, they treat each other like they're married and all. They spend the night together. So not good. Okay, so there's not any physical relations here. Not good. Okay, so that's fornication every single time. So that's fornication. Let me go on. Adultery, well, I'll go ahead and explain it with this couple. Excuse me. Adultery is when this is a married couple and she goes out with another guy and acts like she's married with him, or he goes out with another woman and he acts like he's married to her, treats her like he's married now. That's adultery. You split and you're doing that. And now, let's say he comes back or she comes back and they apologize big time. Should she divorce him? She could divorce, but God forgives. And God, by the way, there's a picture in the Old Testament of him loving Israel like he's married to them, you know. And he just because we sinned against him, he doesn't just kick us out and say, get out of my home. You're not married. I'm not married to you, like not really married, but you know, it's a picture of it. He did do that. There is a time to divorce, and Jesus said it's permitted. Moses did it in chapter 24 of Deuteronomy, verses 1 through 4. He permitted it. But anyway, so that's adultery, is when a married couple goes out. A single person is they act like they're married with another person. There's totally different thing there. And then remarriage is the big thing. Let's say a person screws up and you're innocent, you didn't do anything wrong. Are you allowed to remarry if the person goes out with another person? No. That's just hard, but that's what needs to happen. You just have to stay single. And so, and then let me just mention one more thing before I say anything else. Hillel and Shammai. So Hillel, there were two schools of thought. These are rabbis just before the days of Jesus, in the like 100 BC or not that far back. The Hillelites, the people who were following this rabbi, this teacher, he said, hey, any cause. He took that Deuteronomy 24, and it says, something that the wife, it says you're allowed to divorce, give her a certificate of divorce if there's anything indecent that she did, whatever. He said, not even sin, just anything you don't like about your wife and you really want to, divorce, go ahead and divorce. He was real loose. I mean, even if she, listen to this is true. Even if she cooks your food bad and we burnt your toast or burnt your eggs or burnt something, it's okay. That's a reason you can divorce. It's terrible. But you know what? Nowadays people divorce, or I think I fell out of love with you. I'm no longer in love with you. I want another woman. Oh my goodness, no way. They don't even know what love is. They don't, the biblical love. You're patient with people who love people. No. Shammai was real tight. He had strict ones. He said, basically, you don't just do it for loose reasons. Jesus was stricter than him. And there's that passage, Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 4. And this is what they're asking. The Pharisees were asking him for any cause. They were like, do you agree with Hillel? They're trying to trap him and trying to cause him to say something, against the schools of thought. But he took it to another level, which Jesus always does. So I want to do my teaching now, just briefly, is like a sandwich. You have one end of the sandwich, and then you have all this stuff in between, maybe peanut butter and jelly, or maybe it's ham or turkey and lettuce and mayonnaise and pickles and onion, whatever you like. And then you have the other end. So the first part of the teaching I want to emphasize real quick, and then I'm going to say the same thing hopefully at the end. If I don't, remember that the most important thing I want to say here is like a sandwich. And what I mean by that is, child, if you haven't married, which you shouldn't until you get older, and teenager, if you haven't married, or even if you're adult, you haven't married, be very, very, very careful on who you marry. And Jesus would say, yes, amen. You know, if he heard, well, he is hearing me say this. But you need to be very, very, very selective. And you just don't want to marry anybody that seems to love you and all that. You need to really, really get it. Now, in other videos I'll do over time, you know, you need to, make sure, I'll talk about it. You need more in depth. But here's the main thing. Find out if God wanted you to marry that person. I would never marry someone unless I heard from God. So that's prayer, 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 even fasting. Then I also talk to other people, get them to know the person I'm interested in. Bring that person around everyone that love me and they're holy and they're godly people, and listen to them. Wise counsel is very important. So prayer and wise counsel. And then take your time. Don't make hasty, quick decisions. Don't be blind to their faults. If they lie, for example, if a person ever lied to me, if I'm dating them or something, it's over. I could stay friends with them. There's no way I'm going to marry a liar. Because I don't know what else everything else this person is saying. She's saying could be not true. Who knows how many stories she told. How can you trust a person that lies? So honesty is the number one foundational thing. And then you build on it. You want character. Number one, I would not marry anyone that's not a Christian. That eliminates almost everybody in the whole world. Because I want somebody who's going to follow Jesus. What if they die? Well, when we die, I go up, she goes down type thing. I'm not going to marry someone like that. And they need to have the same values. And then there's big, big opinions, big, big issues. The big ones are, wow. Number one, Jesus. We have to love Jesus equally. She has to love Jesus more than I do. I mean, more than she loves me. And me, I've got to love Jesus more than I love my wife. So that's number one. Number two, things like, what are you going to do with money? How are you going to spend it? Do I have a wife that wants to shop? I'm not interested. I want I want to shop for her. But I don't want her to want it like, oh, come on, I want to spend money on myself. I want someone who says, honey, let's just bless the world with the poor people, the hurting people, the people who need money and all that. Second of all, we don't want expensive stuff. Most of the stuff that we're going to buy is not a huge house with all this and we're in debt and all that. All those things. Money is very important. How we're going to raise children. Do you want children? There's no way I'm going to marry someone that doesn't want a bunch of kids. I'm just not interested. Okay, we could go on and on with this. I better go on. But there's things like that. You have to get the big value things, the big important decisions, and make sure you're on the same page with each other. So, okay. With all that in mind, let's go to this passage and keep in mind what I'm saying here. The sandwich is do it right in the beginning. You don't have to worry about divorce. The first part of the sandwich and this last part is make a wise decision on who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. You better want to do that. And it's still going to be tough. There's challenges and all, but when you make a decision, it's for good. It's for keeps. Okay, so here we go. So Jesus, let me read this passage. I'll put this up for a second, and then I'm going to end with drawing some pictures here about what he's saying. So this is really quite a passage here. It says, they ask him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for any reason, for any cause? Jesus said, have you ever read that what was it from the beginning? So he goes way beyond Hillel, way beyond Shammai, even way beyond, way back before Moses. And when he allowed divorce, he said, this is God's intention. He says, for this cause shall man leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall become one flesh. And so if they're one flesh, there's two people but one flesh, one person in a sense, he says, therefore whatever is two, therefore they are no more two but one. You have to consider yourself, I'm united with this wife or husband and you're one. What therefore God has joined together, let no man put apart. Like, don't divide it. Then they said, why did Moses then command to give a writing a divorce and put her away? See, so this is what he said. Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, permitted it. Okay, so hardness, people are hard and selfish. And if you both have soft hearts and you're both seeking the Lord and you're both yielded to trying to obey Him, remember the triangle, and then you're soft to each other, you'll make it. You'll work out. You'll love. You'll learn how to love one another and work through things. And then he said, this is a big, big thing that people go, like, this is where churches divide and have they get it wrong, and or they want to, make excuses, or they take this passage, which it's sort of difficult, but if you go through it and you read through all the passage in the Bible about it, you'll get more of an answer. And I say to you, whoever shall put away his wife, they divorce. You know what divorce is, splitting, except it be for fornication. I will explain this a little bit. It shall marry another, commits adultery. So if there is fornication involved, and we'll explain that a little bit, then it's okay to marry another. It's okay to put away your wife and all that. Whoever puts away his wife, and there's reasons for putting away your wife besides just fornication. Remember, fornication is two singles coming together and and then you act like you're married together. Not good. He said, and shall marry another, commits adultery. So you've committed adultery means you're now with another woman or something, or another man. And whoever marries her, which is put away, commits adultery. So even a third party comes in and marries. Let's say that woman says, well, my husband screwed up and he's out, but now I'm okay. He messed up. He's with another woman. I'm okay to not marry another person. That's what Jesus said. And the person coming in and marries that woman commits adultery. So, that's pretty tough. So let me draw this and see if you can understand it here. So let's say you have a couple here. I'll just draw. I'll just draw a couple here. This is the man, and this is the woman. Okay, here's her dress. We'll give her a dress there, and give her hair here. I don't know. That's not that good, but it's okay. All right. So here's a couple here. So you're supposed to be stuck together forever. Now, let's say they get married, wedding bells. Now we've got this couple, and okay, let's do it again. Okay, now of course, if they divorce, they split up. Goes this way, she goes that way, he goes this way. It's supposed to stay single. That's why it's important that, going back to that sandwich, it's very, very, very important to get a person that you're going to live with forever. You say real quick, but they changed. They were fake. I thought they were really nice. Or let's say they're really nice and they change. People change. But that's why you need to hear from God, because He knows if they're going to change or not. He's not going to have you marry the wrong person if you hear from God. I'm just telling you, He knows the future. He knows what they're like. He knows what you're going to go through. So yeah, it's very important. Now you have this couple here. And let me draw this my little stick figures here. Now you have this couple. Let's say this couple comes together. And I don't know, either one. Well, let's say her. Yeah, he finds out on their marriage, and when they get married, that she has already been with another man. Now, he could just accept that and go on. But really, let's say he finds out on the marriage night, on his honeymoon or something, that she has been with another man, that she's already had relations with another man. So that's called fornication. And he didn't realize it before he was married. Then he finds out. Now it's okay at this point to not only divorce, it's okay for him to remarry. Like, he can go and get another person because he didn't realize that, and he finds out that she had fornication before the marriage. She's already been with another man, single people. That's what he's really trying to say here. He finds out. Now, this is the only reason that Jesus said, the only exception, and people like to make all these other exceptions for remarriage. Let's say they don't like each other, whatever, and they split, or he goes out with another woman. Let's do that one. This is the only reason he said it's okay to remarry. It's okay to divorce and remarry, because he found out that she's had fornication. Remember, fornication is only single people. All right, so now you got this couple. Let's do this this couple here. You got to draw another woman here, there, and give her hair. Now, the guy doesn't have hair, does he? Poor guy, he's bald on everything. No, okay. All right, so you got this. Here's another couple right here. All right, let's say he messes up in the marriage. And it's not talking about fornication here. See, people like to, the church likes to take this word and say it's more than just marriage. It isn't. All the way through the New Testament, all through even the Old Testament, what's called the Septuagint, the Greek writings of the Old Testament. So it's fornication has to do single. Everything else, every single passage, adultery is a different Greek word. So let's say he goes out and he divorces her, and he finds another woman. Ugh, this makes me pain. It pains me. Here's another woman. He goes out with her. And then poor girl, or it could be either one, or poor guy. I've known of, a couple who she just fell in with another person and divorced him. Now, what's he supposed to do? This is what's hard, but he's supposed to remain unmarried. That's what it says in Luke 16:18. They don't see that verse. People don't look at that. So if she goes out here and gets another guy because of him, he's committed adultery against her. He sinned against God. Thou shalt not commit adultery, the Bible says in the Ten Commandments, number 7 commandment. And then he goes out with her. This whole thing is messed up. Okay, so she's actually supposed to remain unmarried. That's what Jesus said. Now, I am not 100% dogmatic. That's my understanding, very clear. And by the way, Paul said it this way. I'll just read that one. I'll finish here. But 1 Corinthians 7 is another whole passage. He said it, and he's based it on what Jesus said. He even said that here. He says, okay, but unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. So he knows his teaching, Jesus. He says, let not the wife depart from her husband. Don't split, don't divorce. And if she depart, there are times like abuse or really horrible situations where it's just danger. It's really bad, really awful marriage and all. He says, go ahead, divorce. Moses permitted it. Jesus permitted it, but he didn't really want it. Remember, it's from the beginning, he didn't want it. So I think if you do it right, you'll do it what God wanted with Adam and Eve. And like he intended in the beginning, then you'll be okay. It says, here it says, let not the wife depart from her husband. So you're not splitting. And if she depart, let her remain unmarried. That's it, for whatever reason. Or be reconciled to her husband. So sometimes they can split up. I've heard of this, and either divorce or they separate and they come back together and get it right. Yes, that's good. Be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. And that was it right there. There's no, it's okay to remarry. You need to have love in your life. You need to meet your needs and all that. No. Just live, denying yourself and following Jesus. Tough thing. And remember the sandwich I said, the other end, I'm going to repeat it. This is what I want to say. You don't have to worry about remarriage. You don't have to worry about divorce. You don't have to worry about fornication if you're doing it right. You're keeping yourself pure and a virgin until you get married. You don't have to worry about remarriage if you do it right. Just get it right the first time. This marriage is the second most important decision you'll ever make. First one is giving your life to Christ. Second is getting the right partner. And some people remain single. It's what we're going to get into coming up in this next passage soon, is that, I believe I'm supposed to be single, and I'll explain that in my own life. And if I get married, that's great, but I'm not going to marry anyone until I know what God wants me to do. So that's the one thing I want to emphasize here. If you do it right and obey what the Bible says on how you're supposed to treat each other in marriage, we'll get into Ephesians 5, 1 Peter 3, all these wonderful, and Colossians. These are wonderful passages explain how you're supposed to do it right. God has a plan. He's got a blueprint. He has a design on how you can marry another person and you stay together and you love each other and you don't have to go through all this mess that people are going through. Those of you who may be messed up, if you are an adult and you're just feeling all condemned, I'm remarried and all that. Let's say your parents divorced and they remarried. Chances are I would put money on it. I don't bet, but I would say they didn't know. They didn't know the scripture that well. And so what do you do at that point? Well, I would suggest, number one, go to God and say, what do I do? Second, let him lead you. And then second, God does pardon and forgive sins and all mess ups. But I'm just trying to get prevention here. I want you children and teenagers to do it right so you don't have to worry about these passages, divorce and all that is out of the question. You're going to work together. You're going to go through your problems. You're going to be true to one another, like those couples that I had right here. And that first couple that came together and they loved each other. This is what marriage is about. Really, really, really loving each other. Oh, they're kissing. Don't kiss in the public, okay? All right, see, this is what they should do. And they would agree, you know, what they would tell you. Yes, 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 do it right. All right, God bless you. I love you. Thanks for listening.